My fellow Americans, I come before you today not with partisan rhetoric, but with a deep concern for the people of Kentucky and for rural communities across our great nation. What we are witnessing is not simply a debate over dollars and cents, it is a fight for the very survival of healthcare in America's heartland. President Trump's new tax policy bill is more than a financial document, it is a blueprint for devastation. It cuts deep into the safety net that millions of our friends, neighbors, and family members rely on every single day. And for rural America, the consequences will be catastrophic. In Kentucky alone, this bill could rip healthcare coverage away from 200,000 people. These aren't just numbers on a page, these are hardworking Kentuckians. These are parents, farmers, coal miners, teachers, veterans, and small business owners who deserve the dignity of access to affordable healthcare. Let's be clear, the introduction of harsh new work requirements for Medicaid is not a solution, it is a cruel barrier. We're talking about people who are already working multiple jobs, raising families, and caring for aging parents. They're working, but because of low wages or unstable employment, they still qualify for Medicaid. This bill tells them their hard work isn't enough. And it doesn't stop there. Rural hospitals, the lifeblood of our small towns, are now hanging by a thread. In Kentucky, we could lose as many as 35 rural hospitals. 35. Can you imagine what that means? Lives lost during emergencies. Expectant mothers forced to drive hours to deliver their babies. People suffering from cancer, heart disease, and addiction left without care. Congress may have thrown a $50 billion lifeline to struggling rural hospitals, but it's a hollow gesture. Healthcare experts agree it's a drop in the bucket compared to the $155 billion blow to Medicaid funding these communities rely on. The math doesn't lie. The needs of rural America are being ignored. This is the single worst piece of legislation I have seen in my lifetime. And I do not say that lightly. This bill is not about fiscal responsibility, it is an ideological attack on the poor, the sick, and the forgotten corners of our nation. Kentucky knows hardship. We've endured floods, tornadoes, economic downturns, and yes, pandemics. But through it all, we've survived because we looked out for one another. Because we understood that no Kentuckian should be left behind. This bill betrays that spirit. This legislation isn't just a political misstep, it is a moral failure. Our rural communities are crying out for investment, for compassion, for leadership. What they are getting instead is abandonment. And make no mistake, this isn't just Kentucky's fight. Across Appalachia, the Midwest, the Deep South, the Plains, states red and blue, families are bracing for the same fate. Rural America did not ask for this war, but now we must fight it. I know the struggles our communities face. I've walked the hospital corridors. I've spoken with the doctors and nurses who work tirelessly despite shrinking budgets. I've held the hands of patients who wonder if they'll be able to afford their next treatment. This is personal. This is real. If we allow these cuts to stand, the fabric of rural healthcare will unravel. Once these hospitals close, they will not reopen. Once these healthcare providers leave, they will not return. And once the lives of our people are disrupted, they may never recover. I urge every lawmaker in Washington, Democrat, Republican, Independent, to listen to the people you represent. Visit these rural hospitals. Talk to these families. See the reality with your own eyes. Healthcare is not a privilege reserved for the wealthy or the urban elite. It is a right for every American, regardless of where they live or how much they earn. The work requirements in this bill may sound reasonable on paper, but they ignore the lived reality of rural Americans. Transportation is scarce. Jobs are seasonal. Childcare is expensive. These requirements create bureaucratic hurdles, not pathways to opportunity. We should be expanding healthcare access, not shrinking it. We should be strengthening rural hospitals, not setting them up for failure. We should be lifting people out of poverty, not pushing them deeper into it. I understand the need to manage the national debt. But fiscal responsibility should never come at the cost of human lives. There are better ways to balance the budget than on the backs of the poor and vulnerable. I stand ready to work with anyone, yes, anyone, who wants to craft real solutions for rural healthcare. But this bill is not a solution. It is a ticking time bomb. We must stop pretending that tax cuts for billionaires will magically trickle down to help rural communities. That failed theory has been disproven time and again. What rural America needs is investment, not abandonment. If we lose these hospitals, we lose our communities. Businesses won't invest in towns where there is no healthcare. Families won't stay in places where they can't get care for their children. This is how small towns die. And when rural America suffers, the whole nation suffers. Rural communities grow our food, mine our energy, build our goods, and preserve our traditions. They are the backbone of this country. We cannot allow them to be treated as expendable. This moment calls for courage. It calls for compassion. And it calls for common sense. I call on President Trump to reconsider. I call on Congress to reverse these cuts. And I call on the American people to raise their voices and defend the heart of our nation. Rural America deserves better. Kentucky deserves better. Our children and grandchildren deserve better. Let us be clear-eyed about what is at stake. Lives will be lost if this bill becomes law. That is not hyperbole, that is fact. We have the power to stop this. But only if we act now. Only if we put people above politics. I know we are better than this. I know America is better than this. The greatness of a nation is measured not by how it treats its wealthiest citizens, but by how it treats its most vulnerable. This fight is not over. I will not give up. Kentucky will not give up. Rural America will not give up. Together, we will rise to meet this challenge. Together, we will protect our hospitals, our healthcare, and our people. And when future generations look back on this moment, let them say we chose compassion over cruelty, unity over division, hope over fear. The soul of rural America is on the line. I will stand for it. Will you?